I have to find out why. Well, Rhonda's not up front anymore, she's at practicing. So if somebody's not at the desk, then you don't hear it, you know, sometimes right away. So, as far as I know, yeah. Just,
An update on grant stuff.
push the button or say something, I guess, or whatever.
Okay.
Oh, so you have been downstairs.
Alright.
Just figure out how much money, one day they could put
Okay.
extensions.
He's going out.
Then you can put extensions in.
Now call the meeting, Carbon County Board of Commissioners to order. Please rise for a moment of silence, prayer, and the pledge of allegiance. Oh God, thank you for the gift of this new day, and thank you for the blessings of this life. Family, friends, work, and purpose. Guide us as we discuss, plan, and dream together. Help us to make wise and just decisions. Amen. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
These proceedings are being recorded for the sole purpose of constituting the accuracy of written minutes. Tapes are reused, eliminating recorded records of these proceedings. Approval of the minutes of the previous meeting held August 20th, 2020.
So moved. Second.
Mr. Arner?
Yes.
Mr. Lukasevich?
Yes.
Mr. Notstein?
Yes. Are there any guests concerning county business at this time? Hearing none, we'll move on.
Report of executive sessions held.
There were none.
Department reports. The budget transfers.
Move to approve. Second.
Mr. Arner?
Yes.
Mr. Lukasevich?
Yes.
Mr. Notstein?
Yes.
There are no supplemental appropriations. Expenditures, approval of check numbers 215190 through 215287 for expenditures to the general fund clearing account totaling $1,219,123.33.
So moved. Second.
Mr. Arner?
Yes.
Mr. Lukasevich?
Yes.
Mr. Notstein?
Yes.
The treasurer's report.
Move to approve. Second.
Mr. Arner?
Yes.
Mr. Lukasevich?
Yes.
Mr. Notstein?
Yes.
The personnel report.
Move to approve. Second.
Mr. Arner?
Yes.
Mr. Lukasevich?
Yes.
Mr. Notstein?
Yes.
There is no correspondence received. Adult probation. For approval, award of funding in the amount of $66,487 for coronavirus emergency supplemental funding through the Pennsylvania Commission on Crime and Delinquency for the term of March 16th, 2020 through March 16th, 2022. The application was previously approved on July 2nd, 2020.
So moved. Second.
Mr. Arner?
Yes.
Mr. Lukasevich?
Yes.
Mr. Notstein?
Yes, at this time I'd like to call on Rick Parsons to talk about that grant a little bit.
Hey, good morning, Commissioners.
You can
You want to come up here because of being on camera?
Just don't forget.
I don't necessarily want to be up there. Yes, good morning, Commissioners. So this is a grant through PCCD to assist law enforcement agencies with PPE, the personal protective equipment. Approximately $7,000 of the grant went towards reimbursing some of the agencies, both county departments and also other law enforcement agencies in the community for PPE that they previously purchased. An additional $36,000 approximately is being used to purchase new PPE. So what's happening is we've actually already ordered all those supplies. Once they arrive within the county, we will distribute across all the law enforcement agencies across the county to help supplement some of the supplies that they already have. And then the last part of the grant was $24,000, which is a lot of money, but I think it's so key piece of this grant, was for COVID-19 testing in our jail. Our jail is a small facility, and right now, when the individuals were coming into the jail, they're being quarantined for 14 days, so we could prevent COVID-19 from hitting our jail. And this allows us to test all the inmates right when they come into the jail, which expedites that process of being able to move into the general population. We just don't have the room and the ability to quarantine people going in and out of the prison at that level. So this is, I think, a great step for the county.
Kelly, would you have any questions right now for the Commissioner?
Thank you all.
Before you leave,
Okay.
I want to thank you because you put a tremendous amount of time into this grant application, many hours, as you have for many other grants in the past, for a lot of our programs. So I want to thank you for your effort in helping secure this funding for all the programs that you have talked about. So thank you very much.
Thank you, and I really do appreciate working with the commissioners and the courts, and I think we've done a lot of good things, and I think we'll continue to do a lot of great things. So, thank you all.
Thank you.
Okay. Advertising for approval. Authorize the advertisement for bids for the 4476 Susquehanna Street renovation project construction contract.
Move to approve. Second.
Mr. Arner?
Yes.
Mr. Lukasevich?
Yes.
Mr. Notstein?
Yes.
Area Agency on Aging for approval and execution. Senior Community Center grant agreement between the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania and the Area Agency on Aging for the Weatherly Senior Center project. Expected allocation for the project is $5,100.
Move to approve and execute. Second.
Mr. Arner?
Yes.
Mr. Lukasevich?
Yes.
Mr. Notstein?
Yes.
Bid award for approval. Recommendation was received from the Director of Planning and Development to award the contract for the Community Development Block Grant bid opening on August 13th, 2020 for Mahoning Township street improvements, reconstruct and pave Pine Street, fiscal years 2016, 17, and 18, to H&K Group Incorporated of Skippack, Pennsylvania, at the bid price of $147,025.63.
So moved. Second.
Mr. Arner?
Yes.
Mr. Lukasevich?
Yes.
Mr. Notstein?
Yes.
Rejection of bid. Communication was received from the Director of Planning and Development recommending the bids for the Community Development Block Grant Project for Lehighton Borough sidewalks, replace ADA handicap ramps from the corners of Iron Street from 2nd Street through 6th Street for fiscal years 2016, 17, and 18.
Move to approve the rejection. Second.
Mr. Arner?
Yes.
Mr. Lukasevich?
Yes.
Mr. Notstein?
Yes.
Children and Youth for approval and execution. Addenda to extend the rates of the following 2019-2020 purchase of service agreements for 180 days from the fiscal year ending June 30th, 2020, or until finalization of the fiscal year 2020-2021 contracts for the agencies as listed.
Move to approve. Second.
Mr. Arner?
Yes.
Mr. Lukasevich?
Yes.
Mr. Notstein?
Yes.
The District Attorney for approval and execution, the submission of a RAZA grant application and agreement to the Pennsylvania Commission on Crime and Delinquency in the amount of $94,570. The project period is January 1, 2021 through December 31st, 2022.
So moved. Second.
Mr. Arner?
Yes.
Mr. Lukasevich?
Yes.
Mr. Notstein?
Yes.
Emergency Operations and Training Center, Fire Pond Construction Quality Assurance, for approval and execution. A proposal received from Earth Risk Group Incorporated of Pipersville, Pennsylvania, to observe and document fire pond construction activities and liner installation as part of the Emergency Operations and Training Center project in Nesquehoning Borough. Costs are as listed.
So moved. Second.
Mr. Arner?
Yes.
Mr. Lukasevich?
Yes.
Mr. Notstein?
Yes.
GIS mapping for approval and execution. An agreement with Esri of Redlands, California for services to update the GIS IT architecture to include configuration of security, hardware, and software at a total cost of $12,600.
So moved. Second.
Mr. Arner?
Yes.
Mr. Lukasevich?
Yes.
Mr. Notstein?
Yes.
Insurance for approval. Acceptance of the renewal for special risk accident coverage for county volunteers for their period of October 1, 2020 to October 1, 2021. The carrier is Gerber Life Insurance Company through the CCAP insurance program at an annual premium of $340.
Move to approve. Second.
Mr. Arner?
Yes.
Mr. Lukasevich?
Yes.
Mr. Notstein?
Yes.
Planning and Development for approval. fiscal year 2020 Community Development Block Grant CV and single application for entitlement and non-entitlement communities as per the attached list.
Move to approve. Second.
Mr. Honor?
Yes.
Mr. Lukasevich?
Yes.
Mr. Notstein?
Yes.
For approval, adoption, and execution, the fiscal year 2020 CDBG CV resolution.
Move to approve. Second.
Mr. Honor?
Yes.
Mr. Lukasevich?
Yes.
Mr. Notstein?
Yes.
For approval and execution, the fiscal year 2020 Community Development Block Grant CV Disclosure Report for non-entitlement communities and entitlement communities.
Move to approve. Second.
Mr. Honor?
Yes.
Mr. Lukasevich?
Yes.
Mr. Notstein?
Yes.
A fee waiver for approval. A request was received from the Planning Development Director for consideration to waive the county's land development application fee and provide a letter of support for Valor Clinic's proposed Veterans Unstoppable Facility in Gooder Township.
Move to approve. Second.
Mr. Arnott?
Yes.
Mr. Lukasevich?
Yes.
Mr. Notstein?
Yes.
Solicitors report?
Thank you for approval and execution. Correctional facility, an addendum to extend the agreement with Ethos Clinic of Emmaus, Pennsylvania, to provide psychiatric services at the correctional facility for an additional 2 years, commencing November 1, 2020 through October 31, 2022. Ethos shall provide 4 hours of services per week. The rates are $150 per hour for the psychiatrist and $125 per hour for the physician's assistant.
So moved. Second.
Mr. Arnott?
Yes.
Mr. Lukasevich?
Yes.
Mr. Notstein?
Yes.
Parks for approval and execution, a request for use of the gazebo in Josiah White Park submitted by Heather Walk and Jeremy Smith of Lehighton for a wedding ceremony on Saturday, September 26th, 2020.
Move to approve and execute. Second.
Mr. Arnott?
Yes.
Mr. Lukasevich?
Yes.
Mr. Notstein?
Yes.
A tax assessment, a tax refund for approval and payment, a communication received from Tax Assessment Bureau verifying the following taxpayers due a refund of county real estate taxes. Property in Lansford Borough owned by Carbon Premier Realty LLC. Taxpayers requesting a refund due to the property being destroyed by fire. The refund is based on a 3-month prorated assessment, and the total refund of county taxes due is $307.16.
Move to approve. Second.
Mr. Arnott?
Yes.
Mr. Lukasevich?
Yes.
Mr. Notstein?
Yes.
Tax refund for property in Mensing Township of Dylan Tiala. The taxpayer is requesting a refund due to court-ordered approval of a veteran's exemption. Total refund due of county taxes is $1,366.17.
Move to. Good. Go ahead. No. Move to approve. I'll second.
Mr. Arnott?
He thirds it.
Mr. Lukasevich?
Yes.
Mr. Notstein?
Yes.
Nothing further.
Any further business?
Go first, or do you want me to go?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. In alignment with our application of 20 August for COVID-19 relief county block grant funds and the designation of $500,000 to enhance broadband, I'll make a motion that the county releases an RFP to enhance internet access to areas in Carbon County classified as underserved or unserved in order to facilitate distant learning, telework, and televirtual medicine. I'll second that.
Mr. Arnott?
Yes.
Mr. Lukasevich?
Yes.
Mr. Notstein?
Yes. What I have today is a proposal from Ralph Clay surveyor, to do a topographical survey of the area of the Emergency Operations and Training Center to ensure that everything is at the correct elevations, and also the possibility of needed fill, that we would have a good readings on the elevations for any additional ground removal or movement that may be necessary to level the area. It's a last minute thing. We had hoped our GIS could do it, and he was up there and our equipment is just not accurate enough for this. And we will, the engineer gets this data, and it eventually gets turned over to us anyway for future use for the county. So it's a well worth issue that we should address, so.
Yeah, I'll move the contract to the surveyor.
I'll second it.
Yes.
Mr. Honor?
Yes.
Mr. Lukasevich?
Yes.
Mr. Notstein?
And that should not exceed 1 day's work, or approximately $1,210. If for some unknown reason you might need another half, be included in that. So. Okay. Anything?
I have nothing today.
Just commissioners report that.
Well, okay, I have one other thing I'd like to bring up on further business. We were going to curtail or stop the services of the constables in the district magistrate offices, which present some security issues, as well as I believe all of this was covered under COVID. However, those funds are getting extremely low, so I know Greg Armstrong, County Administrator, has some concerns with that. If you'd like to speak to concerns at this time.
Well, the use of the constables does vary by office. We've seen heavier use in some offices. It does help them to provide questioning at the door for people with their COVID-related symptoms, as well as help in enforcing the use of masks in the public areas of those offices. So district judges have really appreciated constables when they've been there. It's on an infrequent basis during the week when the sheriff's not able to provide security on Wednesday during those time periods. So the judges at those courts would really appreciate the continuation at this time.
Greg, do we have any estimate of the cost going forward, or what's the historical amount we've been paying for it?
I truthfully haven't seen the bills that have been
Okay.
submitted. I am curious to know myself,
Yeah.
to see how it varies among the four offices.
Right.
I know
Okay.
Judge Amango is particularly appreciative,
Yeah.
just because of the nature of the volume he deals with up there.
Sheriff Fordvilla, questions, concerns?
Well, I know that generally what would happen if the constables were no longer able to provide some of those security services, the sheriff's office would be requested to step in. Aside from our normal challenges we have with personnel, we already provide services there on Wednesdays for preliminary hearing dates, and our staff complement isn't enough to be able to do that any other days. And, you know, we face the same challenges as other agencies right now. We have some vacancies, we have some training, people at training, and we also have some medical leave of absence. So the challenges that we face now are even more significant than what we would do on a normal basis, when I don't think we'd be able to provide those kind of services.
Now, I understand, and this has been an issue throughout the years, we have talked about several times, is the fact that all the magistrates have their hearings on a Wednesday. And it creates a problem not only for the sheriff's, court administration, but for the public defenders and the district attorney's office, who has to have people at all four offices at the same time. So it is a personnel issue all the way around. So I would appreciate if the courts would really take a serious look in the very near future on how we can't eliminate the hearings all being held on one day at the same time, if that is at all possible. And I'm sure the commissioners and the sheriff or whoever would be more than happy to meet with the judges to see if we can, what changes we can make to help eliminate some of the personnel problems that we have in supplying them all in one day.
I can say that we are currently in discussions with court administration on that topic. A lot of that has to do with the individual decisions by the magistrates and the courts. But we're having those discussions right now,
So
Commissioner.
it probably puts a major burden on the corrections facility also, because a lot of these people have to be transported. And likewise, the police departments, I would assume, that they all have to transport the inmates from the prison to the magistrates and back again. So if they have 2 or 3 different facilities they have to go to, and it's a burden that all these people coming and going all day long out of the correctional facility is also an issue. So I think that's something that through the CJAT, we're working with the courts that we can try to come up with a better method. Hearing that, are any suggestions or
I mean,
comments?
are we looking at like making a motion to retain them for another 2 weeks or a
Yeah,
month and
You're not-
work it out? I mean, I can make the motion for that for, I mean, what would be suitable for you to put it in motion for 2 weeks or a month and just review it to see how things can be worked out? Or, I mean, are you looking for a permanent thing to be set?
My feeling is a month is necessary, because there's a lot of logistics for the sheriff and I to work through with the judges at those courts, as well as any further approvals we might need from the president judge.
I'd say 2 weeks.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay, then
Give
I'll
us
make the
some time
I'll
to
make
talk
the
about it
motion
and
to
look at some of
proceed
the
with them for
issues
2
and
weeks
try to address them.
until the issues are resolved, you know.
So I'll second Rocky's motion.
And-
Okay. Mr. Arner?
Yes,
Mr. Lukasevich?
Yes.
Mr. Notstein?
Yes.
Commissioners' reports, Mr. Arner?
none today.
Mr. Lukasevich?
Well, first I want to defer a couple minutes to our treasurer so we can talk about the most recent hotel tax numbers that have come in.
Good morning, Commissioners. In today's invoices, we have distributed the second quarter hotel excise tax, and we were anticipating a bit of a change in the amount of revenue collected for the second quarter due to COVID. However, the gross collections were $219,496.19. Compared to second quarter of last year, we are only down $945.83. For the first half of 2020, our year-to-date gross collections is $445,177.99. That is an increase over the same period last year of $45,790.63. Of that, the county retains 4% to cover their administration of the hotel tax. That amount was $17,807.12. Monies that are directly for the use of Pocono Mountain Visitors Bureau from Carbon County, $338,335.27. And monies that will be coming back from Pocono Mountain Visitors Bureau to offset tourism costs that the county incurs will be $89,035.60 for the first half of the year. So we're doing pretty good with collections in spite of COVID, and we'll see what the third quarter brings. The third quarter should be a full quarter of activity because a lot of the restraints were lifted towards the end of the second quarter. So, unless you just have any questions for me?
No, thanks, Ron. Want to bring an update on the parking kiosks. Aspirationally, we were expecting the beginning of September to have the kiosks operational. We do now foresee a delay to sometime in October, and then we'll have to make a decision if we want to try that transition, during fall foliage, which may not be the best time for that transition. So it's something the commissioners will be discussing over the next week or two about a more firm date on the rollout of the kiosks. I want to emphasize today is the last Recreate and Educate event out at Mock Chunk Lake Park. That's a collaboration between the park and the Environmental Education Center. That's at 2 o'clock today. And there was a motion or 2406, and that was the grant to the community center, and that's for a pool table and a couple of benches as the seniors wait for the buses. And I simply bring that up because our senior centers have reopened. Our director of the Area Agency on Aging, Sue Ziegler, has said it's going extremely well. And I would encourage the media to take an opportunity to go out there and speak with those particular location directors and the seniors, just to see how it is a positive for them during this challenging time. That's all I have.
Mr. Notstein?
I believe that's all I have today, and sorry, Ron, under treasurer's report, I should have had you do your report then on the vacation bureau. The department heads.
It doesn't matter, I can pop up anywhere.
And you have been known to do that. Okay, any further business? I have nothing. Hearing none, meeting adjourned. Kelly?
Good morning. One question, when is the bid opening for the Susquehanna Street? You're gonna be advertising,
What was that?
Bid opening.
The bid
Bid opening was October,
Right at the very
October
beginning.
1st.
October 1st, yeah.
okay, that's all I have,
That's all?
that's all. Thank you.
Talking about, I guess, with the 2 weeks with the constables, let's kind of talk about like what that kind of entails a little bit.
More or less, Greg, that's your department, really, let you take the heat.
Well, each constable has constables that work out of their, each district judge has constables that work out of their office for warrant service. The constable fee bill does allow for security services to be paid to the constables, and that's how we've been paying them an hourly rate to be there for 3 or 4 or 5 hours per day, depending on what the judge needs on a particular day. It does vary. I mentioned Judge Amenko. He had his preliminary hearings on Wednesday, he's a busy day. Tuesdays and Thursdays, he also has a large number of traffic hearings due to his work covering I-80 Turnpike. So that's a large volume day. It's very helpful to have someone at the door enforcing, reminding people about masks, asking about any COVID-type symptoms, and then communicating with the office staff that this person is requesting a continuance or whatever the need might be. So they've found it very helpful to, they don't have the staff themselves to station at the door, plus manage the court schedule and the paperwork that's required. So it's been a great benefit for them for these days, these time periods when they do need assistance.
Thank you very much, that's all I have.
Any other questions from the media? Okay, thank you.
I'll give you a call. All right.
Yeah, maybe anytime.
Do you know what our AP or today is like?
I'll write myself a note. You write yourself a note too.
Sometime after next week.
Oh, no, you don't have to, anytime.
We can do
getting
it
there.
whenever.
No, I.
I think she's gonna order the
Yeah.
pizza.